Hi, my name is Ian and welcome back to my channel, and this is my series, My Take, where I offer my own, take on situations here in New Zealand and throughout the world. Today I thought I'd discuss what the Crown Prosecution Service has advised to a lot of lawyers here in New Zealand on, I think it was last week here in New Zealand, and these are supposed to take effect on the 1st of January 2025. Now, these deal with issues like Maori overrepresentation in prison and being, overrepresented the whole way through all the way from being a victim all the way up to being an offender. Now, you can find it easily enough by looking at the Crown Prosecution Service online. But in short, it basically, does the usual woke stuff. Oh, they're overrepresented, it's unfair. Now, let me ask you, are Maori genuinely overrepresented in our prison system? Or are they represented to the actual percentage at which they offend, just like all other groups? For example, if we're going to say that Maori are overrepresented because they might make up only, say, 17% of the population, but they make up 51% of our incarcerated, right? Then does that mean Asians would be underrepresented at making up about, say, 15.5% of our population, but yet make up about 3% of our incarcerated prison population? I mean, if you're going to use that logic and base it on the general population, which is what I suspect when most of these groups talk about overrepresentation, that's what they talk about. They base it solely on the population and go, oh, but it's unfair that we're a smaller group, but we're ahead on this stat. Well, hang on. Maybe it's a cultural issue. Maybe it has nothing to do with allegedly society picking on you or the big mean other race. What if it's an actual cultural issue? We seem restricted in being able to discuss this in this country nowadays, but maybe people need to look at it and go, well, hang on, if you are 50% of the incarcerated prison population, there's a good chance that you make up between, say, 48 to, say, 53% of overall actual offending legitimately within the country. Ditto, like I believe we New Zealand European, I believe, or any of us New Zealand European, I believe we sit at, second. I think our incarceration rate, I think, is like 28.5% of the prison population. So by that logic, we commit about somewhere between, say, 27 to about, say, 30% of all crime in the country. We're not overrepresented. I wouldn't say we're underrepresented. I'd say we're represented to the approximate percentage at which we commit crime. We've got it in our heads in this country that Maori are automatic victims if they're overrepresented in something, or that they struggle with something. We've kind of taken away personal responsibility. But anyway, back to this Crown prosecution thing. They were saying that they recommend that nowadays, from January the 1st next year, that the courts must take into consideration if the victim or defendant is a Maori. It could affect sentencing, as in punishment at all, or whether you get the book thrown at you. So pity helps, say, someone who's non-Maori who might accidentally attack a Maori, or they might attack a Maori but not know they're a Maori. They'll probably get done 3 or 4 times what would be the recommended. And if you are a Maori offender, you could probably run around and grape and just about unalive someone. And there could even be a genuine chance that, you get away with it, quite simply because, oh well, you happen to be right race. That's literally what it comes off. If you are the right race, that determines your sentencing. We shouldn't be basing it on prison sentencing. We shouldn't be basing it on race in terms of deciding punishment. Your punishment should be based on what you do. Now, are there some innocent people of all ethnicities in prison? Yes, but I bet you there's also equally as many that commit crime and get away with it. So in that respect, it probably balances itself out. Like, there's probably a couple of percentage of each ethnicity of people in prison who are genuinely innocent, but they've been found guilty. Is that sad for them and their families? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. But like I said, if you balance it out, there's probably equally as many who, have been running around willy-nilly committing crime and have never been punished for it. So, it balances itself out in that way. But what it also does is it indirectly implies that, and this is incredibly condescending and insulting to many Maori in this country, but what it does is it indirectly implies that many of them don't have the ability to understand right from wrong, that they're incapable of taking accountability and responsibility for their own individual choices. And also, when a group of people say that, oh, well, Maoris also make up the most victims in the country, okay. When people commit crime, they are more likely to target victims of members of their own ethnicity. And that is simply explained by the fact that most of, say, their friends or associate or family groups tend to make up more of people of their own ethnicity. So you are more likely to, while you have friends in your own ethnicity, you're also more likely to have enemies within your own ethnicity as well. Because people just gravitate to their own ethnicity because of things like common interests or common beliefs, common cultural traits, etc. And that's not a bad thing. That's just how we are as, human beings. So that is why Maori sit at the number one for victims, is because most of the victims of crime perpetrated by offenders, like I said, are done by people of their own ethnicity. Like, I'm statistically more likely to commit a crime against another New Zealand European than I am anyone else. That's not to say I can't do it, but statistically, I would be more likely to commit a crime against another New Zealand European. And that applies across the board, guys. Sorry to tell you, that's not being overrepresented. That's based on, cultural associations with each other. Tragically, in this country, we seem to have taken away a lot of the potential responsibility and accountability for many Maori, and I feel it's driving a bigger divide within this country. It's starting to create an us versus them mentality, you know. They're whatever it is, 18% of the population versus the rest of us. And it shouldn't be that way. I remember growing up in the 80s where, you know, you didn't judge somebody based on their ethnicity. You got to know the person. You know, nobody cared if you were hanging out with, you know, you had one Asian neighbour on one side of you and a Maori neighbour. Nobody actually cared. Like, but nowadays it seems to be some big deal that, like, you know, and it shouldn't be. I mean, also, by having different categories of sentencing, isn't this what happened in South Africa with apartheid, where, you know, the white guys could commit crime and they basically could get away with, like, literally anything you could think of under the sun in South Africa, and the black guy was, like, pretty much punished to the fullest extent of the law, you know, by us bringing in this, in effect, a potential get out of jail free card for many Maori offenders. You're essentially creating a form of apartheid there. You're saying that Maori need to be punished solely by, and their ethnicity needs to be taken into consideration when punishments are to be dished out, or if they're a victim, oh well, that must make the crime automatically worse. How about we punish criminals based on the crime, and if you're a victim of a crime, regardless of your ethnicity, you should be given the support you need. Just a revolutionary idea I'm throwing out there. I mean, why not make sure that everybody is being tailored to? Yes, unfortunately, like I said earlier in my video, there will always be, unfortunately, some innocent people put in prison who haven't committed crime. And that is unfair for them and their family. But how else do we, unfortunately, I don't see a way of, other than maybe if it comes out that they've been unfairly arrested, giving them a bit of compensation. I don't really know how you can fix it in another way. Because like I said, it probably swings and roundabouts, balances itself out. Anyway, that's all I want to touch on this subject. Hopefully I can hear more about this and then I can keep you more informed about it. But yeah, if you want to look at it, go onto our onto the Crown Prosecution website. There's a 208-page thing about it. So it's a lot of reading, but I'm backing a lot of it will recommend the same sort of stuff all the way through it. But like I said, overrepresented to me would imply that, say, if a group of people were committing 30% of crime but made up 50% of the prison population, which is what it subtly implies by claiming that, they're overrepresented. As I've said, to me, I think they're proportionately represented. If you commit about 50 to 55% of crime, your incarceration rate's around 52%. That allows a variance either way, that tragically, like I said, covers the couple of percent that of genuinely innocent people. But you're not being targeted, and you're not being overrepresented. You're represented proportionately And it's about time in this country we have an honest discussion about this, you know. But again, once you've told a group of people that they're victims and that all their problems in life are down to somebody else, it's very, very hard to change that narrative. It's easier to just roll with that narrative. But this is where government agencies and stuff need kicks up the backside. You know, because I bet you if they were completely honest with themselves, they'd find out it was actually proportionate to the overall offending, not over-representation. Anyway, if I prattle on longer, I might I might go off on some other tangent and, you know, or get myself in trouble on YouTube. So anyway, guys, I'll try and keep you informed with it. But as usual, guys, you know, keep comments respectful and keep safe. Bye.